Let's be honest, if you've ever watched a horror movie and thought, wow, these people are idiots, then Randy Meeks is basically your spirit animal. In Scream, Randy lays out what he believes are the ultimate rules for surviving a horror movie. And at the time, they sound rock solid.
Don't you know the rules?
What rules?
You don't.
But here's the question I've always had. Does Randy's rules actually guarantee your survival? Or are they just horror fan coping mechanisms? Today, we're breaking down every set of rules Randy explains across the first 3 Scream movies, and testing whether following them would actually keep you alive. What's up, I'm Sippin Ice, and we all know the iconic monologue given to us by Randy in the original Scream, but he also gives us more rules we need to abide by in order to survive a horror film in the following entries of the trilogy. In this video, we will be taking a look at every rule he gives us and compare it to not only Scream, but I will also be putting up against other popular franchises in the scene. But before we dive on into the video, the comment shout out today goes to Teal Kit. Thank you for your comment. Now, let's cover the rules from the original slayings of '96.
Everybody's a suspect!
During the big final party sequence, and after many people have already been slain, is when Randy has to stand up and explain the rules one must live by in order to survive a horror movie. It's pretty meta since they find themselves in a horror movie, but his first rule is, you can never have sex.
What the hell no!
You can never have sex? You might as well kill me now! On a serious note, this rule comes straight from the classic slasher logic, and I mean brother. Let's be real, there's evidence for it. Some popular examples include Jack and Marcy in Friday the 13th, Tina in A Nightmare on Elm Street, and Linda in the OG Halloween. So Randy isn't just making this up, horror history backs him up. So the rule applies, right? Kinda. Stick with me here, but there is some truth to it. But in Scream, Sydney does bump uglies and she survives. She gets all romantical with Billy, one of the killers, mind you.
You don't still think it was me, do you?
Meanwhile, Tatum did not, and yet she still died. Now, obviously anything could have happened off screen, but we don't count that, only what we are shown. So what's really going on? Sex doesn't guarantee death, it usually just means the character is alone, distracted, and vulnerable. So my verdict is historically accurate, but not a survival guarantee. Moving on to the second rule given to us by Randy in Scream, we have, you can never drink or do drugs. Out of every rule given to us by Randy, this has to be the most logical one. Whether it's from alcohol,
That has alcohol.
Where's
That
the
has
coca?
alcohol.
I have no idea where the coca's at.
or drugs, being intoxicated means slower reactions, worse judgment, and easier targets. And per usual, Randy isn't coming without any evidence. Some popular examples that actually support his rule are Friday the 13th Part 2, drunk counselors are killed very quickly, Halloween 2, intoxicated hospital staff get caught off guard, and I mean even in Scream, the party itself creates chaos, people are loud, unfocused, and careless. This type of scenario or environment easily allows a killer to slip in unnoticed. But once again, plenty of sober characters can and still die. Casey Becker was completely sober when she met her end, and so was Kenny the cameraman. Both were actually alert and tried to trick Ghostface, but were killed in the end. So again, this rule improves your odds, but it is not a shield. My verdict, helpful, but not a guarantee. Now it's starting to look like all of his rules aren't real and won't actually keep you alive. But his next rule, I think so far is the best tip and one that can actually save your life. Yeah, in the events of a popular horror slasher trying to gut you, that is. Real quick, if you're enjoying this breakdown so far, hit that like button, subscribe for more horror content, and comment below which of Randy's rules you'd actually follow. I'm curious. Now his third and final rule for the original Scream. Never ever say, "I'll be right back."
Never.
You have to! I'll be right back!
This rule, I fully believe, gives someone the best chances of survival out of the 3 from Scream 1. Announcing you're leaving the group equals isolation. And as we all know, if you're alone in a slasher film, your chance of dying, they just shot up, man. Because in a slasher, for the first 2/3 of the film, the killer picks off the counselors, employees, friends, whatever it might be, one by one. Starting with the ones that are alone, the ones that actually said, "I'll be right back."
Because you won't be back.
By now, you probably know exactly what I mean as you're a big horror fan, like myself, but still, some popular examples where this rule holds up are Halloween and Friday the 13th yet again, where characters who wander alone get killed. Isolation equals death almost every time. Even when characters don't say the line out loud, the moment they leave safety, they're done. Now, there are the occasional characters that bust out that line or just simply wander off on their own. But do you know the difference between them and the ones that died? Well, one is the final girl, doing their final girl circuit, the moment where they find all their friends eliminated. So it's safe to say that if you are not the final girl, do not wander off alone or say I'll be right back. Because like Randy says, you won't be back, unless you're the killer. But even still, some characters do stay in groups and still die. Like look at Liv McKenzie from Scream 5. She got popped in the dome piece while in a circle full of people. This, however, isn't the norm for the most part. It usually will only happen to one person nearing the final act, used as the way to really amp up the finale and eventual reveal. At the end of the day, the rule isn't truly about the dialogue, but what follows afterwards. The isolation, the separation. My verdict? While not foolproof, it's smart and ups your chances greatly. Well, that was every rule Randy gave us in the original Scream film, but we do not stop there. He gave us more advice and rules to live by in the sequel. Randy's rules for a sequel are hard to live by as they kinda are more warnings than rules. But we will still cover them and explain how they can either help someone or seal their fate. So the first rule he gives us is, the body count is always bigger. Randy never lies.
Number 1, the body count is always bigger.
This is 100% true and accurate. The proof is in the pudding, brother. Let's look at some popular examples in horror media, for example. Halloween 2 versus Halloween, Nightmare 2 versus Nightmare on Elm Street, and even our poster child for the rules of horror film, Scream. Scream 2 does in fact have a higher body count than the OG Scream. Sequels exist to raise the stakes. As acknowledged by Randy himself, sequels know that they are lesser movies compared to their originals.
Stab 2? Who'd want to do that? Sequels suck.
So in order to create a reason for people to watch or to have it be on the same level, they have to raise the stakes and make things more intense. I'll go more into this soon, but a sequel uses the body count alongside other things in order to do this. In order for the sequel to actually compare to the original that's so beloved. This rule doesn't help you survive. It just means your chances are worse. So yeah, that's fun. But with that being said, my verdict, fully true, 100% factual. But what about his next rule? Is it true? His second rule is, the death scenes are always more elaborate. Similar to the previous rule, this one is more applied to the sequel itself and not a rule someone can live by or actually use. It can, however, be used alongside others in order to keep something elaborate happening to someone. And again, like this last rule, this rule implies that sequels always go bigger. For sequels to compare, they have to.
More blood, more gore. Carnage, candy.
For example, there's always more spectacle, longer drawn-out death scenes, and more brutality.
Your core audience just expects it.
I promise I'll stop saying this soon, but I just have to one more time. This rule, like the last one, is true and applies to the same franchises and many more out there, including Scream and Scream 2. Scream gets more gory and brutal in the more recent entries, but the point still stands that Scream 2 is more intense and elaborate than the original. We had someone tossed over a balcony and someone tied to a musical prop and shot in the chest. Scream 2 did in fact raise the stakes, so it could compete with the critically acclaimed original. So yeah, this rule does not help you survive, but it's just useful information, just not survival advice. Good to know, but it doesn't truly help you. And so with that being said, my verdict, accurate but useless in the grand scheme of things. But let's move on to Randy's third rule.
Never, ever.
How do we find the killer, Randy? That's what I want to know.
Oh darn, come on Dewdrop brother, we needed that. That was probably a crucial role. Oh well. Sometimes it just be like that. Since we missed out on the third rule, that has been every rule of Randy's for a sequel, and how to possibly survive it by combining them with his rules from the OG. Maybe his final film will give us foolproof rules to live by.
Roman Bridger, director.
And brother.
Moving on into his final entry of the franchise, Scream 3. His rules here are in a similar vein to Scream 2, but some I do believe actually imply in terms of aiding someone's survival. His first rule when encountering a trilogy is that the killer is superhuman, a very popular trope that a lot of primarily older 80s horrors used. For instance, while Pamela and Jason were intimidating, it somehow gets more intense when Jason becomes an undead zombie with teleporting abilities. Because yes, bro be in like 10 places at once or something. I mean, dude is a literal corpse walking around because of Tommy Jarvis accidentally Frankensteining his ass. So was it really that much of a stretch? Okay. I got a little carried away there, let me get back on track. Killers becoming, or just seemingly are superhuman, is just another way to amplify the series in an attempt to add more stakes to the franchise and the victims facing off against the killer. For instance, if they are somehow surviving gunshots, walking off stab wounds, and just simply keep coming back, well, those stakes are mighty high.
It's your turn to scream, asshole.
Even Scream did this with Scream 3, but instead of an undead Ghostface running around, it's still another human in a bulletproof vest. And while Scream tends to keep things grounded in reality, not every franchise is that way. So honestly, this rule checks out. My verdict? Accurate for the most part. Randy follows this up with a rule that cuts deep to us horror fans that enjoy our final girls. Anyone can die, even the main character.
What you say? What you say it again? Say it again!
So to be honest with you, this rule exists for one purpose and one purpose only: to remove plot armor. Many horror films, especially ones later in a franchise, we get comfortable knowing there's no way they can die now. But it does happen. Not all the time, but it does happen enough to warrant its inclusion by Randy. The one that actually comes to mind first, personally, is Alien 3. We won't talk about that movie, but they did force us to watch as one of the GOATs, Ellen Ripley, died. In terms of Scream, however, yeah, it doesn't apply. Like, at all. Sure, Dewdrop died, and don't make me have to remember that, but Sydney and even Gail are still alive and kicking. At least for now. Anything can happen in the upcoming Scream 7. But for now, they are both absolutely chillin'. And to be honest with you, not only Scream 3, but every entry following, Sydney is seemingly safer and safer than ever. And the movie refuses to cross that line.
I can't do it. I can't do it, Squidward.
And to be honest, being this far in, I do want her to survive and have her happy ending. She's my goat. But with all this being said, my verdict. Theoretically true, but rarely actually applied. Had to bust out the old thesaurus on that mug. But let's take a trip down to Randy's last rule, and another one that might actually have real benefits in knowing. The past will come back to bite you. This actually might be one of Randy's smartest observations as a horror fan. What better way to end a franchise or to up the ante by bringing back the original that's so beloved and creating some things we missed or recently learned events? It could be applied with anything. In Scream, it was secrets, trauma, and family history. But it doesn't have to only be those things. It could be about a hidden second killer, the killer that never died, or whatever your mind can cook up. But you get the point I'm trying to make here. All of it fuels the violence.
Let me get a roast beef sandwich, but hold the beef because I don't like the violence.
It forces the victims to look into their past for the answer. Characters who ignore their past are usually doomed. But I don't think it has to be that way. If you find yourself in a trilogy, look deep. Look deep into your family or friends and see if anything weird or odd sticks out. Any and all things you can think of needs to be said out loud to everyone in the group. Secrets, especially in slashers, are a recipe for disaster. Get on the right page and solve the why, so you can figure out the who. This rule, if taken seriously, can and will help most characters in a trilogy. My verdict? Psychologically accurate. So, does Randy's rules guarantee survival? The short answer, no. They're not magic, they're not shields, they're not cheat codes. But the long answer, yeah, kinda. Randy's rules don't save you, they just make you aware. And the cruel irony, Randy actually follows the rules better than anyone typically does, and he still dies.
Jesus Christ, you don't know the rules?
That's the cutest fucking thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
If only he didn't give his virginity to Karen Kolchak.
Karen Kolchak?
Yes, Karen Kolchak.
Creepy Karen?
Shut up.
Nah, I'm just jossing at your chain, but in horror, survival isn't about knowing the rules. It's about whether the story lets you live. While this just means that anything can happen to anyone, I thought it would be fun to look at all of the rules and analyze and see if they actually could save someone's life, or if they were all just bull snot. Which rule do you think actually works in saving lives? And which one do you think is complete trash? Let me know down in the comments. And if you want me to test rules from another franchise, or to even go over the rules given to us by Randy's niece, Mindy Meeks, in Screams 5 and 6, then be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Also, I recently turned on memberships for my channel, and if you would like to support, the link to join is down in the description. But no pressure in joining. I have also recently went over possible motives for Scream 7, so to see that, click here. Stay chill, and I will see you next time.
Thank you.